Hey there, sisterhood. April here, and I'm so excited to launch you into the universe of what's her superpower. Superpowers, sisterhood, secrets revealed. What's her superpower explodes onto the scene, alternating between real talk solo episodes and electrifying guest interviews. Hello, and welcome to another episode of What's Her Superpower. And I am beyond blessed and excited today to have my special friend, Timmie Mirza, with us today. And I've only known Timmie for, it's been a couple of years now, hasn't it?
Almost.
Yeah. And I feel like she's been in my life forever. And I can't wait for you to meet her, hear her story, and just share the love that I have for her because she is an amazing woman and y'all are in for a treat. Hi, Miss Timmie.
Hey, April. Such a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, we have tried to do this for a while, and we just haven't really been able to get everything situated where we can get time because you just got back in the country.
Yes.
And your dad's doing okay?
Yes. He's doing much better.
Good.
Grateful.
Yes. Beyond grateful. So tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and then we'll kind of go from there.
Wonderful. April, thank you so much for making this opportunity for us to connect. I know we have not talked in several days, so we have lots of catching up to do. So I am helping coaches launch profitable programs by simplifying tech for them. I feel like I live and breathe tech all day long, but what really, really energizes me is working with people and seeing transformations in people. I feel like I decided a few years ago to combine my two loves, love of working with people and love of working with technology, into a tech coaching and training practice. And that's what I get to do every day.
And it's, that love of, not everybody shares that love of tech with you. I can tell you firsthand. It's like, I would leave her messages and it would be, because I have done, full disclosure, I have done a couple of courses. Well, I did her first course and then I did a mastermind with Timmie. And when she tells you, she really does simplify the tech for you. But there were still times where I would leave her messages like, Timmie, this thing's killing me. Help me. And she would. So and how long have you had your business? I know your business has kind of changed over the time that you've had it, and finding your focus of what you really wanted to do with your business. So how long have you been in business for yourself?
So I've been in business for myself about 2.5 years at this point, but doing tech coaching, I think that started about a year ago. So I've been doing this, I think, since last March.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that evolution because you had business clients to start with, right?
Yes, I was doing data analytics consulting for corporations and project management. That's how I got started. And then I started to work with coaches, and I just realized I absolutely love this space, even though learning entrepreneurial tech coming from corporate and nonprofit backgrounds in the past was quite daunting, right? Because all of the software that entrepreneurs use are quite different than what corporations, big banks and things like that, what they use, where they're, working with big ERP systems and things like that. Coaches, online entrepreneurs are using very different technology. So that was, quite the learning curve there. But once I started to figure some things out for myself, I decided, why not help more people with that? So that's, kind of how that started. And I feel like every single day it's been a dream come true. And I also have to share, April, that you were the very first client who said yes to the one-on-one coaching program. Remember, like a while back when I first started, when we got back from the Elite Beach Retreat with Michelle Cunningham, and you were the first client who said yes. And that, I think, really, really turned things in a very positive direction for me, because I truly feel that it takes at least one person to believe in your crazy ideas, right? So you provided that for me, and I'm so super grateful to you for that, because once we have that, we can always expand from there. And ever since then, I really tried to be that person, be that coach for other people, for the clients I work with, right? When they come to me, even if they feel no one else believes in their crazy idea, it seems crazy to other people, but I believe it. I believe in them because that makes such a huge difference.
Mhm. Yeah, it does. Matter of fact, I was talking to somebody earlier and she's like, do you have that circle of entrepreneurs, that support circle? I said, you would not believe the support circle that I have. And I feel truly blessed by the women in my life that have done that. And, I love the fact that I was that person for you. And you've told me that before. And I just, every time you say it, it's like, oh, I'm so glad I could do that for you. And Timmie really downplays what she does. So she not only does a lot of the tech stuff, but she also is fantastic about really breaking down, because as women, we're very multi-passionate. And it's like, but the hard part about that is that you have those squirrel moments, like, oh, I'm going down the road and, oh, there's a squirrel. Oh, there's a squirrel. And it ties in, kind of, sort of, but it's really, she does a great job of getting to the core of who you want to help, why you're doing it, and just really helps you focus in on your true purpose. And that helped me a lot.
Really, I appreciate that so much. I was talking to someone yesterday and I was sharing that I feel that I've done a lot of different things throughout my career, right? I started with accounting and doing some tech work, and then working for a large bank, then working for a nonprofit. So I've done a lot of different things, data analytics, project management, and all of that. But throughout all of my career, when I look back, it really has been preparing me for the thing I'm doing right now, right? And I also, as soon as I said that, and I said, for now, right, this is where I'm at, but I'm sure that this is preparing me for whatever the next step is going to be, right? So wherever I am, it is really for purpose, right? It's not just happening just out of chance. I think there's a deeper purpose to all of this. And I so appreciate you saying that, because I think all of my project management experience comes into play, right? I'm an Agile certified practitioner. So with that, I have been trained and I've practiced for years how to help clients clarify their vision and break it down into smaller steps and take action, right? So kind of work backwards from that vision and figure out, what are the building blocks? What do I have to have in place? What order do I need to go in? And then just, take action until the thing gets implemented.
Yeah. And that's the key, that whole take action thing, because I know in my case, it's like, this is what I want to do. But then it's okay, this is where I want to be, and this is where I'm at. So that stepping process of getting to that point. And then sometimes, you're halfway there and you're like, is that really the point I want to go to? So yeah. And I think that because sometimes when we're looking for a coach or, get into a mastermind or something like that, we think we're going in for one thing. Mm-hmm. But it's the extra stuff that sets you apart from some of the other coaches that are out there, and you really do take it step by step and go through the process with the person. And it's not just like, oh, well, this is what you need to do. Go do it.
April, you are a dream client, right? I'll give you that. You're a dream client. And the reason I am saying that is because when we're starting, I have like a rough outline, right? A rough map of what order we need to go, right? The steps that we need to follow. But I don't think at any given point I tell my clients that this is the only way, right? This is a step and this is the only way. I'm going to show you a way, but then I also encourage you to come up with your own way. And you are so good about making decisions. You're so good about taking action. You're so good about, okay, you have shared the options with me. I know which option I want to pick, and you just go with it. And I have worked with other clients where that's not always the case, right? They have the options, but they struggle with making a decision. You don't have that issue at all. You're just like, I have decided I'm doing this. I'm going to get this done. And this is so, so energizing just working with you. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. So you can tell that we love each other. So, Let's talk about you have had such an exciting journey to get to the point where you're at. And when we first met, we kind of went through this journey and you shared with me your story. And I love your story. I mean, from like meeting your husband and everything. So share with them just a little bit about your journey to get where you're at now. Because we see you're all put together and you're confident. And that wasn't always what Timmie was like, now was it?
Not at all, right? Okay. So I was born and raised in Pakistan. I moved to the US when I was 18 years old. I came here to go to college. When I arrived, the very next day, I met my future husband, not realizing that he's going to be my future husband, but I met my future husband. And I feel like he has helped me in so many different ways all throughout my life, because I was 18 years old, coming from Pakistan, where everyone, looks pretty much the same. We all talk pretty much the same way and all that good stuff, right? To coming to the US, where there is so much diversity. And the college I went to had 70% international students and 30% local students. So when I say diverse, it was diverse, right? So I got exposed to a lot of different cultures and religions and fashion styles and, different people. And it was just such a cool opportunity for me. And I truly feel that the age I was at, I was really learning and absorbing very, very quickly, right? Who's who and all of that. And in the mix, I was really trying to figure out who I was, but I was not really looking at that from my perspective. I really was trying to see who did my husband wanted me to be. And so I started to become a person I thought he wanted. Mm-hmm. And in that, I steered so far away from who I was on the inside. Several years later, when I felt like we had everything going for us, we had nice jobs, we bought a house, we had nice cars, we started a family. Everything in life seemed to be going well on the outside, but on the inside, we were very broken. Like our marriage was, very broken. We did not really understand each other. And we had totally different expectations from each other, for each other. And I remember a day when I came home, and I don't even remember what the conversation was about. My husband and I, we just got into an argument, and I didn't know how or why. I just decided to go grab a prayer rug, put it down, and I just put my head down and I started praying. And I just like cried my heart out. And I was not a religious person at all. Like I remember having arguments with my mom, a year or so before this, where she's asking me to pray, to seek God. And I was like, I am too busy. I'm too busy for all that, right? And to this day, I regret saying to my mother that when you were my age, when your kids were young, I did not really see you be a religious person. Now you're older, you have all the time in the world, and you're doing that. And to this day, when I think about that moment, it like hurts me that I said those words out loud to her, right? But she was a very wise and patient human being. Instead of yelling at me, she really very beautifully turned it around and said, you don't have to be saying yes to anything. You just make the intention, right? And you say, God willing, make the intention, God willing, be open to it. That's all she said, and I was like, several more months went by. I still was not listening or anything like that. So that day I came home and I literally was at my wit's end and I decided to pray. I realized that several days before that, I was not sleeping well at night. I would just stay awake all night long. So that day when I went to bed, I slept. Did not really realizing what happened. I just felt calm, went to bed. The next day I came home around the evening, same time, I felt like praying. So I did, went to bed, slept again. I still had not put the two and two together. The third day, when I did the same thing, I came home and I had this urge to pray. And I was like, oh, I have been sleeping well the last 2 days. Is this a fluke or is there something there? I was like, okay, if it's working, let's just keep it going, So I slept one more time. And the next day I woke up and April, I decided to open up the Quran which is the holy book that Muslims read, and started reading with English translation for the first time in my life as an adult, as a grown-up human being. In the past, I had learned it, but not just how to read Arabic, but not really understanding the meaning of it. And by the time I was a third of the way done, I had started to transform from the inside out. The way I spoke to people changed, the way I thought about things changed, what I ate changed, what I wore changed. Everything little by little about me started to change. And I started to become who I always wanted to be. And after all of that, I realized that when I am at peace with myself, when I am really being true to who I am, I become more attractive to other people too. So my husband eventually found this human being that he had fallen in love with years ago, right? And I felt that he ended up falling in love with me again because I was, I feel that I was at peace, I was lovable. All those years when I was not, it was because there was an internal struggle going on, right? I was becoming somebody who I was not born to be and all that. So that really, helped things get more peaceful in my life. And around the same time, I was working in a corporate job. I decided to leave my corporate job, work for a nonprofit. I took a huge pay cut, but I was so happy doing that work because it really was helping me fulfill something bigger than myself, right? I was pursuing something bigger than myself where I'm making a difference. I'm really helping students have a better education. And that just felt so great. And ever since then, I've just, made it my mission to really be of service, be of help to other people. And I feel like, God has blessed me beyond my own wildest dreams, every single day. I'm just so grateful.
Yeah. And being around you from the moment I met you, you are one of those people that you're very comfortable to be around. You're very peaceful. It's like some people you get around and you're like, okay, I have to energy up, but it's always, I feel love, I feel peace, and you're comfortable with yourself. And that comes across in how you deal with other people, and that is such a gift because not everybody has that ability to make people feel comfortable. And it's so funny because, you talked about like becoming who you thought your husband wanted. And I have a friend of mine, she said, one of the best things that you can do is, especially as we're women, we're busy, especially we're business owners or we're either entrepreneurs or we're working a job. Ask your family, like your husband, what are your expectations for me as a wife? And she did that with her husband, and her husband's like, I don't care about a home cooked meal every night. I grew up in a single, my mom was a single mother. She didn't cook every night. She was working. What's important to me is that we have that downtime, that quiet time together. That's what's important to me. And she was raised in the South, and it was like, oh no, you have to have dinner on the table every night and blah, and she was working herself to death trying to get that done, trying to be something that she thought he wanted.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. Yeah. It's so funny that we have in our mind, like what kind of and I love the relationship you have with your boys. Y'all are so cute together. Oh, but and I'm sure over time that has developed because they're getting older now, right? How old are they?
They are 13 and 15. My 13-year-old is going to be 14 very soon. So
yeah, two teenage boys. Oh, joy.
Yes. Yeah. They are so much fun to be around. April is just such a joy, being their mother. And I also know that wasn't always the case. When I was in my younger years of motherhood, I did not handle things gracefully. Some of the things, I was telling my kids about last night, we were cracking up. I said, I did that when you guys were young. And they're like, no way. And I was like, the version you're seeing now is a much better, much updated version than, when I was in those early years. And for us, we don't need to be doing anything. Like we don't need to be involved in an activity or anything like that. Just the four of us, my two boys, my husband and I, just sitting around at the dinner table or being in our family room. We are just so enjoyable and comfortable with each other. You know, we're just cracking up jokes, and it's just such a joy to be around. Yeah. So
great. And that's such a gift, because I mean, he kept the home fires burning when you were, when you went back to stay with your dad, and you were there, what, 3 weeks?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And, that's single parent. All of a sudden you're working. I mean, being in the military, you saw that a lot, but it probably wasn't as healthy of a situation as like y'all have, because you've worked at that over the years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
But it's so funny because, you've told us about meeting your husband, the day after you got here. Did you see him and say, oh, sparks are flying, or was it like, eh?
So his dad is from the same town in Pakistan. His parents are from the same town as my parents. So I had heard of his family, his siblings, but I had never heard of him. Growing up, like I never heard his name. The first day I met him, I heard of him was the day when I was meeting him. And his dad met me, and one of the first questions he asked, he said, young lady, are you married or engaged or something? And I was looking at him. I'm like, what? I'm looking at him and I'm looking at my dad. I was like, what, what's going on? He's like, you should go talk to my son. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I just came from Pakistan yesterday. And this is not very, like you don't expect someone to ask, a young woman that question like that, openly and bluntly. So that was quite interesting. But my husband and I, we saw each other a lot. He was going to the same college, and he was also working there during the day and going to school at night. So we got to see each other all the time. And it was just so natural and comfortable. We really developed a friendship, and we were married within a few months. And much later, I found out, actually only recently I found out, that when my dad was going back after bringing me to the US, getting me settled into the dorm, he had a conversation with him because he was working at the same college at the same time. So he had a conversation with him about me or something. So he said that was the day I decided that I was always going to watch over you. My husband just decided, and years later, I'm hearing this from him. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Sweet and creepy all at the same time.
Yeah. But he is just such a blessing to my life. He's such an amazing human being. I'm so, so grateful that God chose him for me, because I feel like we're two totally different human beings, but in a way we are so powerful together because we're so different, right? Because when I am stuck, I ask him, I said, okay, what is my blind spot in this? Like, what am I not seeing, right? Can you help me figure this out? And he comes at the same situation so differently, and it is just so refreshing. Sometimes it's also aggravating. But at the same time, I think when you have that level of love and trust with each other, right? You hear the other person, you actually see the totally opposite perspective from you, and you appreciate it. You're like, this is coming from a place of love. So I'm grateful for that.
Yeah. I heard something. I forget where I heard it. I think it was on TikTok, because I love my TikTok. But the woman was talking about the definition of love. And I don't remember if she said it was the Jewish definition. It was some religion. And she's like, it's not about finding somebody exactly like you. Mm-hmm. It's two people who it's your missing part. Mm-hmm. That's why when they say opposites attract, it's that person is your missing piece, and they fit in. Mm-hmm. And that's what that relationship does. It just kind of melds together, because it's that missing part that you had in you, in your life, and whatever. And I was like, oh, I love that, because my husband and I are opposites also. I'm more the outgoing, and he's very quiet, very, he mulls stuff over, like I'll ask him a question, and it can be something as simple as, what do you want for dinner? And an hour later, he'll say, hey, what about, oh, I've moved on from there, honey. I've had like 10 other conversations in my head since I asked you that question. You're too late for that.
feel like in every interesting, powerful marriage, there is usually a slow cooker and a pressure cooker. So
Yes. Yes.
I'm definitely the pressure cooker.
Me too. Yeah. But, and it's that safe place because pressure cookers need that space where we can release.
Mhm.
And that's what that's what our slow cooker, I love that. That's what our slow cooker does is gives us that time and that safe space
Mhm.
that we can release our pressure.
Mhm.
And that's such a gift.
Yeah. I tell my husband that I'm so grateful that I'm not married to someone like me.
It's exhausting. Yes. Being in my head is exhausting. Yeah. Oh, well, it has been, time flies when you're having fun, right? But I so appreciate your time, my friend. I appreciate you sharing your story with us. You just are such a light. You're a light in anyone's life that has worked with you. And I am just honored to call you friend. And I've enjoyed our time together. I love you being in my life, even when we can't talk as much. We leave messages for each other. And I appreciate you sharing your story with us. And I know someone out there is going to be like, oh, either maybe their marriage is in the same situation that yours was in at one time, or they're having trouble sleeping and they're not sure why, and they're just resisting,
Mhm.
But I so appreciate you sharing your story with our audience.
April, I appreciate you so super much. You are a blessing in my life and blessing to so many others. I love listening to your podcast. I love watching your podcast. It's so enjoyable. I'm such a visual learner, so it is so enjoyable, the conversations that you have with women. It is so amazing. I am so grateful for the work that you're doing and how much you have grown in the last year and a half, my friend. You have to be so super proud of yourself. I'm just so amazed that, all of the things that you're currently working with while also thinking about the next things that you're working on. It's just amazing. So keep on going, my friend.
Well, thank you. Yeah, sometimes it's like I have to slow myself down. It's like, oh, I want to no, can't do that just yet. We'll put that's on the back burner. But you helped me realize that, it's one thing at a time. It's a process. So I hear your voice in my head sometimes. I forgot the big question. As a woman, in your business, in your, day-to-day dealings, what do you consider your superpower that you bring to the world?
April, I want to say my superpower is always having a positive intention behind anything that I do, anything I pursue, anything I dive deeper into, right? A connection, a call, a conversation, a tech solution, anything and everything, right? There's a intention of positivity and intention of being of help, being of service to people. I think that is what my gift is. And I feel like that's all I do, right? I wake up, I make the intention to help people, and whatever God has planned for me for the day, it happens, right? And we just keep on going.
I love that. Yeah. And that's, he has a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we just need to be obedient. And that's where sometimes we run into problems.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, thank you again. And I just want to thank everybody for tuning in for another episode of What's Her Superpower. So go out, conquer the world, and let us know what your superpower is. Y'all have a great day. Bye.
Bye.
Forget unicorns. Unlock your true potential with actionable tips, inspiring stories, and a whole lot of laughs. Join the mission. Subscribe now. Find your own What's Her Superpower. Join the mission.